much did you know about the alert?
Well, I've been out of the country for the last few months, so I only really became aware of it when I came back on Friday and listening to BBC News this morning. So I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I believe other countries use this system, so it's high time that the UK caught it.
You have spent a bit of time in America. I know it has been used in America. Is it something that you had experienced over there?
No, I was in California last year, and I believe they use it for earthquake alerts, for wildfires and things like that. But I mean, it's a really good idea as long as folk have a smartphone, and most people do nowadays.
So what do you think is going to happen at 3 o'clock?
I don't know. I'm expecting my phone to make a noise and everybody else is around about me to do the same, but we'll just have to wait and see.
And one of the people round about you is Kira. Kira, how much do you know about the alert?
All I really know is, well, I've known since they announced it, but I kind of forgot about it, that it's just going to go off at like 3 or half 3. My mum texted me earlier because I forgot about it. She was like, oh, remember the 3 o'clock alert, because I've been quite nervous about it. But yeah, I don't really know much about it, but I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I've just messaged someone to remind them as well. Why are you not looking forward to it?
I don't know, like, if my mum never reminded me about it, I would have just been like, oh God, like, what's happening? I don't know, I think it's just unnecessary, like, stress and, like, panic and stuff. And especially for, like, old people that might not, like, know about it, like, they might not be on social media and stuff. They'll hear it from their phone and be a bit like, what the hell? So, I don't know, I just think it's a bit...
And what if there was an incident? This is obviously a test, but say in the future if there was an incident, do you think it would be a good way of informing people?
Yeah, 100%. So obviously if it's going on everyone's phone, like, only if you turn your phone off, you're not going to get it. So everyone's going to see it and they're going to know what's going on. Because it is a good way to keep everyone, like, up to date of what's going on. But it's still quite scary.
Okay, that's great. Thank you all very much for the moment, but we will come back to the other guys that we've got here just after 3 o'clock when we have heard that alert on our phones here in Glasgow, as it will be around the country.
Alexandra, one of the running themes in conversations around this does seem to be that sense of overkill, doesn't it?
Well, well, here the sense is that I'm getting that people either had forgotten about it or didn't know much about it. And before I left the office, I was speaking to a colleague who works through in Edinburgh, and we were kind of comparing the cities and saying, had we seen any billboards, had we seen much information on this? And the answer kind of seems to be no. Like, people have heard on BBC News and on the website, so the information has been there and it has been on the government sites as well. But I think people are just enjoying their Sunday afternoon here and not thinking about the 3 o'clock emergency alert.
Alexandra, that's great. Thanks very much for now. And let's briefly bring in Loretta Hibert-Girardet, Chief of the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Loretta, do you think the British government's done a good enough job of advertising its test and why it feels it's necessary to do this?
I can't really say. I'm not in the UK right now, but what I will say is that this is still new for people. And of course, there's going to be a bit of concern at the very beginning, but I think that they will soon see that this is an essential public good. This is very much part of what a government should be providing to its people so that they are better prepared and able to withstand disasters. And we know that just 24 hours notice, for example, of an impending flood can save damages of up to 30%. So there really is a very critical reason to invest in this type of technology. And I applaud the British government's attempt. And of course, the media also plays an important role in sensitizing the public and explaining.
Loretta, let me just interrupt you there. We've heard the alert going off as you've been speaking. Let's go to some of our live shots now, up and down the country, of people receiving this alert. Okay, well, so this emergency alert has landed. We can see our reporter Naomi on Oxford Street there. This is what the alert looks like on her phone, telling people that this is just a test, that no action is necessary. If you're just joining us, this is the test of Britain's new emergency alert system. which the government has introduced, it says, to try to save lives in the case of serious incidents, natural disasters, terror attacks and that sort of thing. Joining us on the line is Loretta Heber-Girardet, Chief of the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Loretta, we heard the alert there, a pretty loud siren. It's hard to ignore this sort of thing, isn't it?
I think that's exactly the intent. It really is for life or death situations, and it really is designed to make people stop and take protective action, whether it means evacuating or fleeing to a safe place. It really will be used as necessary. So I really would encourage people not to be too worried about the intrusion into their lives. It's really designed as a public good. And as I was saying before, I think the media has a very important role to play in helping to sensitize people as to why this is so important.
OK, Loretta, thank you very much for now. Do stick with us, please. Let's go back to Glasgow and our reporter, Alexandra Mackenzie. Alexandra, the alert has sounded. How did it go down on Buchanan Street?
Yes, we are here. I think, did it come a bit early? I think we were taken a little bit by surprise there. I think we were expecting it to be spot on at 3 o'clock. So yes, there was a bit of noise on the street. People were pulling their phones out their pockets to have a look at it, and then everything seems to have gone back to normal very quickly with absolutely no fuss. But I do have some people here just to get a bit of reaction. Connie, you're a student here in Glasgow, is that right?
Yes, I am.
And was that what you were expecting?
I kind of was, yeah, because I saw on the news that they did show us an alert on the news of what it would look like, but I only saw a little bit of it, but I didn't think it would actually happen. It was a little shock.
And was it quite loud on your phone?
No, it was quite quiet. Oh, there's another one just there.
Yeah, they seem to be going off at different times.
Yeah, mine was a bit early and it put a new system in my update now for my phone now. So.
Right, okay. And were you expecting that update then?
No, I thought it was just something else.
And did you know much about the alert before?
I did. Some people were talking about it in school, but we were mostly just talking about what it would be like and what date it was. Some people were like, nah, it's fake, or just, I saw some videos on TikTok that people were kind of scared about it, and I was a little bit scared as well, because sometimes I get a little bit too shocked and scared about some alert sounds. And yes.
So do you think people who maybe do have a tendency to not react well to that kind of sound, it's maybe not a good thing for them?
I think it's a yes and no, because there is some people who are don't have immune system to loud noises and can get scared kind of easily, but at the same time it is kind of good because this is good for the future as well, for something might happen badly. But for some people, yeah, sometimes it can be a little bit too nerve-wracking for them, yeah.
And this was obviously a test, and do you think a sudden noise like that would be quite beneficial to know that there was an emergency happening?
It definitely, yeah, because if you need it on your phone, because some people, all now modern people are on their phones, so if something bad happens, like something near needs help, or something bad happens, you can know by your phone, and it will give you how to help you and how you can help someone else with the alarm system as well. So yeah.
Yeah, Connie, thank you very much. And James, what happened with your phone? Did you hear it go off?
I actually turned my phone off.
That was deliberate, yes?
I couldn't really be bothered with it. It was a bit underwhelming, to be honest. I was expecting a bit more panic or something. But
so did you expect people on the street maybe to react a bit more?
Yeah, a bit screaming and hollering and stuff, but there wasn't.
Yeah, it was
much of it, really.
kind of nothing, really, wasn't it?
It kind of went a bit unnoticed. But yeah, I can see why they're doing it. And I've seen that it's been effective in other places, but I don't know how noticed it's been. It's went under the radar.
So you say it went under the radar. Do you think people could have been informed a bit more about it, possibly in different ways?
Aye. I only found out Thursday. I was at my grand's for tea. My uncle told me. I had no idea. So I think that there could have been a bit more advertising or something went in it. But.
And what if you were in an area that was badly flooded? It would be important to know that was happening. So do you think in that sense, in that situation, it would be a good idea?
Well, I think you'd probably notice it first rather than on your phone. You go, oh no, there's something bad going on here. I'll get out of here. But.
OK, that's great. Thank you very much to all of my guests here in Buchanan Street in Glasgow.
Okay, Alexandra, thank you very much. Now, we're joined by the BBC's Anthony Ward, who was filming scenes in Bristol a short time ago when the alert went off. Anthony, good to see you. We heard one of Alexandra's guests there saying he felt this was a bit underwhelming. How was the reaction in Bristol?
No, I wouldn't say that was the case in Castle Park here in the city centre. Of the 13 passers-by who I stopped and who kindly agreed to sit on the wall for us here, only one person didn't get the alert, and for the others it was very, very noticeable.
And had these people known that it was coming, or did it catch them by surprise?
They mostly did. I mean, I asked them if they knew it was coming, and most of them did seem to know it was coming, yes. Some people were dubious about whether they might receive it because perhaps their phones were registered abroad. But yeah, as I say, of the 13 people, only one didn't get the alert. So I think they generally felt it was quite successful.
And Anthony, of the people you spoke to, did they feel that this was necessary for the British government to introduce this, or did they feel that this was a step too far?
To be honest, I haven't interviewed them about that, so I can't say. But I think people were generally positive. I mean, certainly when I approached people, nobody, was immediately negative. People were just, oh yes, I know that's happening, and people weren't negative about it at all. Some people referred to maybe the possibility of switching off the alerts, but one or two did. They'd seen some advice saying that they could switch it off, but I didn't get much negativity. Generally, people were positive about it.
OK, Anthony Ward for us in Bristol. Thank you very much. Let's go to Oxford Street and our reporter Naomi Choi-Smith. Naomi, Oxford Street, generally pretty busy, bustling place. Was it just cacophony when this siren landed about 20 seconds before 3 p.m?
Well, you certainly couldn't miss that sound, Rich, that's for sure. Everyone was taking out their phones, looking at them curiously. No panic, though, no real visible anxiety. People were curious, swiping on their phone, reading quite calmly. And a lot of people said they were aware this was going to happen. And to be honest, many of the people I've spoken to since say, yeah, that was a good sound, that was a good alert, that was something that I would pay attention to. And that includes Michael here. We'll bring him in. He's in town. Michael, if you want to come in and share your thoughts, you can come a bit closer. So what did you think of the alert today?
I think overall it was positive. I think it will be good for our elderly people in case of emergency flooding and other events. So I think it'll be good. It's quite subtle. It wasn't loud at all. So I think it'll be really effective for the elderly, especially because they don't want to be startled. It's very calming. In a way, it's to be reassured of what's going on, really, because there's always that uncertainty of what's going on. But I think the alarm wasn't too loud. It was sort of a notification. You look at your phone. I knew of it from yesterday, so I just didn't know when. But I was looking at my phone to see what would it be like. So
you had heard about it, and how did you hear about it?
I think, my girlfriend told me that there was going to be an alarm of some sort. I was like, oh, when's that? I was like, oh, it's this Sunday. So I was we was keeping an eye out for it to see what would it be like or what was it all about. So overall, I think it is going to be positive.
And you mentioned the elderly, but what about someone like yourself? If you heard that and there was severe weather on the way, would you find that helpful?
Yeah, in a way, I think, because it's sort of to get to safety as soon as possible, or if everyone's sort of startled a little bit, you can look on your phone and you can sort of reassure yourself, be right, I know where to go, what to do, right, this is happening, so I'll take action. So a quick reminder, because everyone's on their phone nowadays, so go on your phone, have a little look, and yeah, I think it would be positive. It's sort of reassuring in a way of emergency.
So all in all, in positive review. Thank you, Michael, for that. And we've also been speaking to tourists here, some of whom knew this alert was coming, but others who had no idea. So there was a little bit of surprise among some tourists. However, Olav from Norway here, who we'll bring in to have a chat with.
Hello.
Hi, Olav.
Hi.
Nice to see you. You knew this was happening?
Yeah, I knew it was happening. We're living here in London for 4 months now, so I heard it from many channels. But yeah.
And so what did you think? What did you think of the sound?
I went in the store and we heard this annoying sound and we thought it was some theft protection or something going off. So I didn't notice until I got out that it was on a message on my phone. So.
And what did the message say?
Yeah, it was a long message. I was an emergency test. So I realized immediately what it was because I heard about it already and saw some posters on the subway, on the underground as well. So, yeah.
So generally, did it get your attention?
Yeah, when I finally checked my phone, it did. But I didn't notice the sound immediately because I was in a noisy environment. Yeah.
Now, in some places in Europe, they already do have these alerts in place, but I believe Norway is not one of them.
Yeah, I think they have something like that on a similar scale, but I think they've done some research to use it for some winter avalanches or something like that, but I'm not quite sure. Yeah.
But perhaps not as commonly. So do you think this is a good idea?
I don't think it would have been a large-scale test like this at home. It's the first time I got something like that on my phone, so yeah, it's a good idea. You get people's attention. It's easier to get, because no one listens to radio anymore anyway, so yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you
Olaf,
very
for
much.
that review.
Yeah.
So there you go. We've got tourists and Brits alike reacting to that alert system out here on Oxford Street. Plenty of people paying attention, plenty of people curious. It's certainly got everyone's attention.
Okay, Naomi Forrest on Oxford Street for now. Thank you very much. If you are just joining us, hello, you're very welcome to the programme. About 11 minutes ago, more or less every smartphone across the UK sounded an emergency alert. This is part of a test that the government's organised. It announced a few months ago it'd be introducing this emergency alert system whereby it could send a message to smartphones up and down the country in the case of an incident which had a severe risk to life, such as a weather disaster or a terror attack. It said today was going to be the test day. The timing of the test was actually changed to accommodate for the FA Cup final, and the alert has been ringing up and down the country. We've been joined by reporters across the UK. Let's have a listen to what it sounded like. So that's the emergency alert, which sounded about 20 seconds before 3 p.m. Let's go now to Loretta Hibert-Girardet, Chief of the UN Office for Disaster Risk Reduction. Loretta, as we heard Naomi speaking to her guest from Norway there, not every country operates something like this. Would the United Nations like to see this standard practice?
Absolutely. And we're pushing very hard for this. As I've mentioned, the Secretary General has launched an initiative called Early Warnings for All. We want to see every country in the world covered by effective early warning systems in the next 5 years, and especially in the least developed countries, where we know that investments of just $800 million sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot when you think about the fact that this could save up to $16 billion a year in terms of humanitarian losses and damages to the community. So this is a very worthwhile investment. And we're really focusing our attention on those countries that are on the first line of the climate crisis, the small island developing states, Africa, where many countries do not yet have effective early warning systems. This is a big push by the United Nations, a priority for the United Nations, but also the Red Cross movement, which is an important player in this initiative as well. So this is a goal that we certainly hope we will achieve, because it will definitely save lives.
Okay, Loretta, please do continue to stick with us. Thank you very much. And let's go now to our reporter, Matt Graveling, who's at the finish zone for today's London Marathon. Matt, you're surrounded there by thousands of people. It must have been pretty noisy when this went off just before 3 p.m. How did people react?
Well, yeah, as you'd expect, it was probably a little bit of a surprise for people here. Not that they didn't know it was coming, but everyone's just finished 26.2 miles, so they probably weren't suddenly thinking, oh, there's going to be a government alert coming at 3 o'clock. When it did come, by my watch, which might have been slightly off, but it was a minute early, and on the screen of people's phone it said, this is a test of emergency alerts, a new UK government service that will warn you there's a life-threatening emergency nearby. And when that happened, I can tell you, a lot of people did start fiddling around with their phone. There was quite a lot of noise here on the finish line, as you might expect, some 47,000 people coming through here, so a lot of mobile phones in people's pockets. But I think possibly the biggest nuisance for people is that everybody here is stopping and they're having a picture, a selfie if you will, with the big London Marathon backdrop and obviously the clock there showing potentially what their time was today. And so when they were taking those selfie pictures, they had to stop, wait 10 seconds and then take another one because of this government alert. So by my reckoning, it was a minute early, but it definitely worked for the people here who decided to leave the alerts turned on.
And of course, Matt, the marathon being on today, as well as the football later on, that's quite appropriate, because as we've seen in the past with terror attacks, both in the UK and elsewhere, The targets of such acts can often be these large-scale events where lots of people are congregated together at the same time. So this really was a good test of the system in terms of how it landed amongst a big crowd of people, wasn't it?
Well, that's correct, yes. We've got around 47,000 people, we believe, here today, which is the biggest London marathon ever. This event has obviously been on since 1981. Now, of course, people running this event may have had headphones in, connected to their phone with music. So a few people I spoke to before the alert went off said we did actually choose to turn the alert off so it wouldn't impact on our running. Obviously, that wouldn't be advisable for anybody who was wanting to receive an alert in a real-life situation. But as you say, thousands of people here, thousands of people at the FA Cup semi-final as well. So a good testing ground, and as we said a little bit earlier, it definitely did work, and it definitely did get that information to a lot of people very quickly.
OK, Matt, for now, thank you very much. Let's go back to our reporter, Alistair Coleman, who covers disinformation for the BBC. Alistair, this is the alert which for several weeks people have been saying is your sign to run for the hills. Has it come to be that way, do you think?
No, it hasn't. I was incredibly underwhelmed by it. I mean, yes, it came 30 seconds early, but it's exactly as advertised. Some people are actually saying they haven't received theirs yet, and there's probably nothing sinister behind that. It's just that it could be a quirk of the mobile phone tower system, or because you're on your wireless at home. So yes, it's worked. Some people haven't got it, but nothing dreadful's happened.
And Alistair, you've been floating around the spaces of the internet that you often keep an eye on. What were people's instant reactions amongst these kind of conspiracy forums?
Well, they've been largely quiet about it. It happens all the time on conspiracy forums when something they say is going to happen doesn't happen. And then they usually will say, well, these things take time, wait until the next one. And that's what I'm fully expecting is going to happen, that they'll just move quietly onto the next dreadful thing that the government's going to do to us.
And a very big thanks to all our guests who have joined us from around the world and up and down the UK in this programme. We've been covering the rollout of the UK's emergency alert system. An alarm was sounded on smartphones across Britain just before 3 p.m. this afternoon, testing this new system. There's much more on the BBC News website. For now, thanks for watching.